What if I told you that the technology everyone fears could actually be our planet's best hope for survival? In this video, I'm going to reveal how AI is revolutionizing resource management in ways that you probably never imagined. By the end, you're going to understand why ignoring this information could mean missing out on some of the biggest environmental breakthroughs of our time. I'm Evan Goldstein. I'm a licensed professional engineer and a data scientist. I'm building AI Catalyst to help you navigate the AI transition, especially in business. And nothing says profits suck like environmental regulation. But could AI actually have some environmental benefits? Well, let's start with the elephant in the room, and it's these giant data centers. These massive, power-hungry facilities are the beating heart of AI. We're talking an estimated $105 billion poured into these last year alone. That's a billion with a B. It's like Silicon Valley decided to build a whole bunch of mini-cities dedicated to crunching numbers. Now, this spending spree is raising some eyebrows, and not just because of the astronomical figures involved. It's going to result in a serious uptick in electricity demand. But before we start panicking and unplugging our smart fridges, let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture. There's another perspective on AI and the environment that's not getting much airtime. It's not about how we make the technology, but what that technology can do for us. AI has the potential to be a real game changer when it comes to scientific discovery and innovation. We're talking efficiency boosts and carbon emission reductions across the board: transportation, agriculture, energy, production, you name it. Why are we seeing this rise of power-hungry data centers? It's coming down to the rise of generative artificial intelligence, the kind of AI that can write a sonnet, code a website, or summarize War and Peace in the style of a surfer dude. It's pretty impressive stuff, but it comes at a cost. A single query on ChatGPT uses nearly 10 times as much electricity as a regular Google search. That's like the difference between flipping on a light switch and firing up a little nuclear reactor. Right. Generative AI has been in the works for years, but it really hit the big time in November of 2022 when OpenAI dropped ChatGPT on us. Suddenly, everyone and their grandma was asking AI to write their college essays or come up with pickup lines, and the tech giants took notice. Microsoft dumped over $13 billion into OpenAI, and Amazon, Google, and Meta are all scrambling to keep up. It's an arms race. But looking at the numbers, how much is all this AI productivity going to increase our electrical demand? Well, it's not small. Most experts are predicting that energy consumption by data centers is going to at least double over the next few years. Goldman Sachs is estimating 160% by 2030. I talked about this in a previous video about AI's dirty little secret, that it runs on dirty energy. The International Energy Agency is a little more conservative, and they project that demand is going to be double by 2026. Those are some big numbers and big growth in power consumption. While those increases are significant, we need to keep them in perspective. Right now, data centers account for about 1% to 2% of total electrical demand. Even with these projected increases, we're looking at maybe 3% to 4% by 2030. It's a huge jump in that sector, but it's not like we're going to have to start pedaling on stationary electrical generator bikes just to keep the internet online. Here's where things get really interesting. What if I told you that AI could actually be a green technology? Now, I'm not talking about greeny window dressing like purchasing carbon credits from wind turbines in Iowa. I'm talking about AI as a tool that could help us reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 5% to 10% by 2030. That's according to a study by the Boston Consulting Group commissioned by Google. So let's break it down. AI isn't just about writing chatbots or generating deepfakes of Taylor Swift. It's a general purpose tool that, if we're smart about it, could revolutionize industries across the board. For biology, Drew Endy, a bioengineering professor at Stanford, says AI could give a biological design a boost. We're talking about turbocharging biology to discover the right DNA formulas for more efficient, less polluting agriculture. Think in terms of crops that grow faster, use less water, and don't need as many pesticides. It's not just good for farmers, it's good for the whole planet, and it's much less energy intensive. Another example is in mining. AI has already helped find a massive copper deposit in Zambia. Now, why is that a big deal? Copper is a key component in electrical vehicles and everything else electrical. More copper means more EVs, which means fewer gas guzzlers on the road. It's like AI is playing matchmaker between the tech industry and the fight against increasing temperatures. AI isn't just consuming energy. There's a startup in Salt Lake City called Zanskar that's using AI to improve the success rate of discovering geothermal energy for power plants. Right now, about 90% of geothermal projects started from scratch fail because they drill in the wrong places. It's like trying to find a needle in a haystack, except the needle is underground and the haystack is the entire Earth. But with AI combined with new geological data sets like satellite and seismic sensor data, we could be looking at doubling or tripling the success rate. And if you want to keep learning how to experience success with AI from these episodes, I would urge you to hit the like button. Hitting like lets me know that I'm making content you want to see, and it helps spread that content to others. So back to energy sources. Isn't geothermal energy just a drop in the bucket? I mean, right now it is. It accounts for less than half of 1% of electric power in the United States. In countries that dedicate resource, it can be a lot more. In Iceland, it's 25. Now, I was just in Iceland, and I can tell you they actually have lots of active volcanoes there, so that's kind of a cheap shot. But it could definitely be substantially more in the United States. And it's a clean, around-the-clock energy source. If AI can help us tap into more of that Earth heat, we could be looking at a game changer in the fight against emissions. The most interesting application from my point of view is the use of AI in fusion. In a single sentence, fusion energy is the power that drives the sun, and it involves bombarding protons, which are hydrogen nuclei, together to fuse into helium, generating enormous heat. It uses a fuel source, hydrogen, that can be derived from regular water, and the results in no hazardous nuclear waste. It's sort of the holy grail of power generation. We, in humanity, are very close to making this a reality, and machine learning has been deployed extensively to break through several barriers that are holding up progress. I've been thinking about making a video on that topic, and you can comment below if you want to see it. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We're still looking at a significant increase in electricity demand from artificial intelligence in the coming years. However, the efficiency of the technology could increase at an even higher rate. Before you start rolling your eyes and muttering, "Yeah, right," let me just remind you that we've seen this movie before. So if you look back to the 2000s when cloud computing was the new kid on the block, everyone was freaking out about the surge in energy consumption and predicting doom and gloom. But guess what? From 2010 to 2018, the computing output of the world's data centers jumped sixfold. 6 times. And energy consumption, it only rose by 6%. That's not a typo. We're talking several orders of magnitude more computing power than increased power generation or power consumption. While our computing power went through the roof, our energy use barely budged. And I'm not saying history is guaranteed to repeat itself, but as Jonathan Cumia, a former scientist at the Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory, said, after the mania has calmed down, other incentives kick in. There's a huge incentive for industry to become more efficient. Let me tell you, when it comes to incentives, nothing talks louder than cold hard cash. The tech companies aren't just sitting on their hands twiddling their thumbs and watching their electrical bills skyrocket. They're working on ways to streamline their hardware, software, and cooling system to reduce electricity consumption in their data centers. They're getting creative too. Some of them are building data centers in northern countries using the cold outdoor air as a natural coolant to cut down on electricity and water use. It's like turning the entire Arctic into one giant computer fan. In the more distant future, I expect to see more off-world computing. The nearly absolute zero vacuum of space is really just a bottomless heat dump. Back on Earth, AI is definitely going to increase our energy demands, and that's just a fact. If we're smart about how we develop the technology, it could offer a sweet deal in terms of potential breakthroughs in clean energy, more efficient use of resources, and innovations that we haven't even dreamed of.